Hi, this is Ryan Lisenby here with the Introduction to Cinema Final Projects as you wish for. This will be, my take on um, The Breakfast Club. That was a movie that I had chosen to do. One of my dad's all-time favorite movies. I'd seen it maybe once when I was little. I don't know what age I was, probably like 12 or 13 when my dad showed it to me when he thought I would, be mature enough to see that. But I think it's kind of funny how I'm reviewing this video now, or this film now, as opposed to then, obviously, but now because having it come out in 1985, my dad would have been, right around 20 when he saw this film for the first time. Here I am at 20 years old reviewing the film, so that's kind of cool. I would like to have picked his brain on what he had thought about the film at that time, but can't do that. But as always, I like to have the good background thing that you always have going, that 1/3 aspect, or ratio, as you like to say. Um, Also, I'm not gonna have any like cool pop up things here or there, and I just don't really know how to do that. So I'm just gonna go forward with just talking about the film. Uh, so at the end of the film, it said, Brian refers when he writes the paper to talk about their Saturday detention experience as, he refers to them as you have, an athlete, a princess, a basket case, um, a criminal, and himself, who is the brain. So, periodically, I'm gonna look down at my notes. I don't want you to think I'm just looking at something crazy. I don't know. I just wanted to clarify that. So we'll start out with Claire, played by Molly Ringwald. She is the princess of the film. She exemplifies the person who's come from the top class. She's the person that with all the money. She has all the money. She's come into detention not knowing why she's there. She actually walks into the room and is like, "Am I in the wrong place?" Like, I don't know. She's just total total bitch at the beginning. For lack of words, she has all these diamonds in her ears. She thinks she's better than everyone else. But that's just how she is, and throughout the film we'll see her start to kind of progress, and especially after Bender calls her out on several of her character defects as far as her social standing and whatnot, where we'll see her begin to progress and whatnot. And then we have we'll dive right into Bender. We have John Bender, who is played by Judd Nelson. He is referred to as the criminal. He's the guy that he's just the total shithead in the classroom. The type of guy that if you're a teacher that you definitely do not want to have him in your class because he just makes it impossible to teach. He's everywhere. You can't really calm him down. He's not doing anything too bad. He just does enough stuff to get under your nerves to where you can't quite stand him. So you have him. He's come in several times. He'll allude to the fact that like his parents are not. He doesn't come from the best background. He comes from the lowest of low. He's basically the opposite of of what Claire is. You know, she's the upper class, he's the lowest class, and I think that's why they clash a lot throughout the film. Well, you know, like at one point they're talking about he's talking about like getting stuff for Christmas, and he says one of the things my dad used to likes to always quote, and he gets the boxes. He's like, for Christmas, I used to get a carton full of cigarettes, and my dad would say, you know, smoke up, Johnny. And you know, I think that's priceless. That if anything goes to show what exactly his family life is, I don't need to go into all the other parts behind it to what shows exactly how bad his family life is, but that, you know, that there's just one blaring example of what that would be. Then we have Brian Johnson, who he's played by Anthony Michael Hall, and he is the brain. You know, he's the guy that it's kind of a crazy story how it unfolds in the movie, but you know, he's the kid that has the smartest kid there is the one that has a flare gun go off in his locker. You know, a flare gun. And when they question him on that, when they're all sitting in a circle throughout, or towards the end of the film, talking about each other's what's wrong with each other, uh, you know, he kind of alludes to the fact that he was trying to kill himself, uh, and that stems off of the pressure that he has had from his parents and whatnot of to make such good grades and everything, and how he's had such struggles living up to that. But you know, and he laughs about it. He laughs about how stupid it is for him to have even thought about killing himself, but more so that it was with a flare gun. You know, like it, like so they laugh it off and everything. But he is the brainiac. He's the guy that you want to be like in school, but I'm not so sure outside of school. And he learns, if anything, you know, he doesn't get the girl, he doesn't get any of that stuff, but he gets some valuable insight into himself throughout the film. And then we have Andrew Clark, played by Emilio Estevez, and he's one of the guys that reminds me a lot of myself. He's very sports oriented. Uh, his dad is very rough on him, you know, asks him to constantly keep the future in the back of his mind in order for him to achieve in life. You know, his dad's just talking about when he's going to detention about, you know, how that could have cost him his, you know, athletic scholarship. And I feel like if I put myself in that position, my dad would have said the same exact thing, which is really funny. um but I really like how further into the film, when it analyzes Andrew, you see a soft side come out of him. You know, he talks about why he has gotten put into the position he is in, why he is in detention, and it's because he has he has duct taped a kid's two butt cheeks together and torn the tape off or whatever, you know. And at that time it was probably really funny to him, but he says, you know, I wonder how the victim, you know, like him going home to his family, how embarrassed they would have been. You know, he did it for himself to look cool and whatnot, but he also worked, like, looking back on it, you could tell he was really remorseful about the whole thing. So here we see a soft spot within Andrew for this whole thing about everything that he's done, and you know how he starts to realize that, hey, you know, screw my dad's expectations, screw all, like, I don't care about those anymore. I'm gonna be the person that I want to be, and you know, if I end up doing sports, it's because I like to do them and not what my dad has put this expectation on to me. And then we have Allison Reynolds, played by Ali uh, Sheedy, who she's kind of the hardest one to put our finger on. She's the one that she's just the basket case, you know. She's all over the walls. I watched the movie two separate times, and still, you know, throughout the first half of the movie, it's just really hard to pick up watching her where her mind is going. You know, you see her at the beginning making, I believe it was a Cheerios and sugar sandwich, like just some crazy stuff you would never think about. You know, like we're sitting here at a high school Saturday school detention, and she's making that. And I'm just like, what in the world is going on with her head? And she's the person I see though throughout this whole thing. A lot they all make big turnarounds throughout the film, but she's the one that makes the biggest. You know, we see her go from this total basket case that, I mean, doesn't know up from down to all of a sudden she starts talking about how oh, well, we see in the beginning her parents drop her off and they're basically ignoring her, and she kind of goes in to talk about that, how, you know, her parents have had, like, don't really care about her, and that's gotta be really hard on her, because having your parents not care about you, I just can't even imagine that. But we see her, you know, start to progress as she starts to talk about it. I mean, she I guess she says she's a you know, she starts talking about her being a nymphomaniac and like having sex with her shrink, and they're all looking at her like, oh, she's so crazy, like what the hell's wrong with her? But like, you know, we really see that, like, then she's like, I'm just kidding, I'm just a habitual liar, you know. But like they would have believed her, because I mean, I like when I first heard it, I probably would have believed the same thing. You just don't really get a good feel out of her. But really, by the end, we see her transform into her true self, and it all starts with Claire showing her some attention. You know, she asks Claire like, why are you being so nice to me? And Claire responds with, because I can. And like, I guess it just goes to show that like people can truly care about her. And all of a sudden, you know, Claire starts doing her makeup and all that stuff, and she comes out and she looks, you know, beautiful. And it just all goes back to she couldn't see that within herself because her parents didn't, I guess, put this or show her that she should believe in herself and whatnot. They just kind of ignored her, that she didn't really know who she really was inside. And I think throughout this whole thing, she's really starting to come into reality with the person that she is. So, you know, the moral of the story is, you put all these five, you know, teenage kids together in a Saturday detention that are all in here for, you know, various reasons. And I mean, none of them really want to be there and whatnot, but you know, and they all have different things that they want to get out of it. And I'm not going to go back into it about that, because you'll just have to watch the film for yourself to really see this unfold. But we see from beginning to end, we see each one of them progress in a certain way, and I've touched on how this, you know, some of them begin to start making that transition. And I think that this is, you know, the big picture for this film is to really realize what each and every one of them has to learn from being around each other. Not because they want to hang out with each other, and they hint on that, you know, they don't want to really be with each other, obviously. And they even say, you know, do you, what if like, say, Andrew is talking to, um, you know, when Andrew Clark is talking to Bender, saying, if you were with me and you ran into my group of friends wouldn't really accept you. When the same went for Bender, Bender's like, if I brought you around to my group of friends, they wouldn't really like you either. So it just goes hand in hand, and that's, I mean, I remember how that was kind of the same thing when I was in high school. You know, I could like a person, but I wasn't necessarily going to bring them around my friends, you know. But this film does an excellent job of shedding light on that, and it's crazy how they can all come together and realize internally what some of their problems are just by sitting in one Saturday detention together. They can see the difference that they can make, or not even just see. You can see for yourself watching the film exactly what kind of progress they make in such a short amount of time. Um, and and also some, like, I guess just because I feel like this is kind of fitting for me to do. Since this is the last subject or thing to do for the term, is I wanted to touch on some of the things that's all during the film that you would have appreciated, but based on what you taught us. I saw in this film the use of clocks, how it was like, I mean, not quite to the effect of high noon, but sorry, sorry, I had to plug my computer up to the charger. But the use of clocks, as I was saying, it wasn't quite to the effect of as they used it during high noon, but it definitely made you have this feeling of like anticipation. The teacher states, he's like, it is now 7:06. We have 8 hours and 54 minutes for you to me, you could almost insert like, there would it be perfect to insert like, figure out all your life's problems. Like, y'all sit together, and y'all all coming from different walks of life. Like, y'all can all sit here and point out each other's flaws and stuff, and but like, obviously that's not how that was. But I feel like that time was necessary at the very beginning to show that, hey, we're gonna be here. We have to be here with each other for this allotted amount of time, and why would we sit here and waste it? Eventually they were gonna waste it, and all of a sudden you just see this drastic change throughout the film. I also liked how Bender, after he gets in an argument with Clark, he slams down a switchblade on the table, and it made me think back to A Rebel Without a Cause, how influential switchblades were at that time. And and lastly, I just wanted to talk about the comedy in this. I think a lot of times we lose sight of the comedy because we're trying to watch these films to really analyze them and stuff. But if anything, sometimes, I mean, shoot, I even forget it because you're trying to, well, I gotta answer these questions, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. But this film really does have such good comedy in it. And it's still, my dad quotes it all the time. Like, I'd always wonder some of the quotes that he pulls out of the bag. I mean, he's all over the place with different movies, but like, he, at some point when Bender is talking about elephantitis of the nuts, and how his nuts, he says, yeah, his nuts would be riding shotgun. That my dad always quotes that. It's pretty funny. Also, he'll also say, two sounds: me hitting you and you hitting the floor. And also, I'm gonna knock your dick in the dirt. And then my favorite one of all of them is, when I think I already talked about it, about how Bender's talking about what he gets for Christmas, and he gets a carton full of cigarettes, and his dad tells him to, uh, you know, smoke up. And my dad used to joke joke to me when I was a kid. He'd be like, what, Ryan, what do you want? Ryan, what do you want for Christmas? And I'll be like, I want this and this and this. He's like, I'm gonna get you a carton full of cigs. And he said, smoke up. So I don't know. That's just some of the comedy in that I hadn't really noticed how much of it exactly my dad quotes, and my dad quotes damn near the whole movie. So I'm sure he would have loved to have been given this lecture, or to be talking about this film. Just as there's a lot of little things in the movie that I didn't really observe until I went back and looked at it, and I mean it's just a great film, and it's been a great year, and you have a good one, Professor Shackford. See.